Today in this video, I'm going to show you how to flush out a Y filter. Like if you have a Y filter on your drip system or any other kind of zone on your irrigation system, this is how I do it. I've got a set of valves here. Open up this valve box. And you may recognize actually this set of valves right here from another video of ours. And I'll shoot it up right now and put a card up there. In this video, I'm going to give you a valve installation tip. What we've got our 3 grass zones. So check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. But what we've got here, we've got some valves here that run our grass. And then I've got a valve over here that's got this Y filter, and it's got a built-in pressure regulator on it. And so we've got another video about this exact one. And so I'll put it up now and show you that video. And I'll put it in the description so you can go check it out also. So if you have got one of these Y filters like I do, you're going to want to flush this thing out every once in a while. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now this particular zone, I put them on our drip zones. And so we've got decomposed granite in these beds, but I've got drip around all of these plants. And so one of the things you want to make sure is that this filter is clean. You want to every once in a while come check it and clean them out. Especially when you first start, fire it up and start it. Because you don't want any part of the drip getting clogged up. Especially when it's underneath granite and you can't see it as much. But I'm going to show you how to do this. There's a few different ways that you can do this. One is, see, this one's got a cap. Oh, and by the way, I'm using a glove. You always want to wear some sort of glove when you're reaching down in these valve boxes, because you never know what's going to be in there, and at least it gives you some sort of protection. Hey, there's a little bonus tip for you. But this has got a cap, and so you can open up this cap right here, and you can already see water coming out of it. This is basically a flush cap. And so you take this cap off, set it aside over here, and now I can turn this zone on. I don't recommend that you just turn this solenoid and fire it up full blast. If you do, you're going to get wet. And so one of the ways that I do it is this. I've got a ball valve here. This is an isolation valve that I can turn off the water to all of these valves. That way if I have a problem with any of them, I can shut the water off and I can work on them, fix them, turn the water back on. So one of the things I'll do, I'll shut this ball valve off. Then I'll turn my solenoid to turn this valve on manually. Now I've got the ball valve off so it doesn't have any water on it. And then I'll just slightly turn that ball valve on. And then just keep turning it. Oh. Keep turning it until I feel like it's good and flushed out. Then I'll shut the ball valve off. Turn the valve off. Then take my cap. Put my cap back on. Now it's cleaned out. Now another way I'll do it, take that cap back off, is this valve. This is a Rainbird PGA valve, but it's got a flow control. This what this little knob is on top. I can screw this valve all the way down. Now don't get real crazy tighten it, you'll mess it up. But now it's off basically. I've turned the solenoid. You can hear it kind of starting to turn on, and then I'll turn the flow control on just a little bit. Flush it out. Turn the flow control back off. Turn the solenoid, turn the valve back off. Put my cap back on. Now, if you do that way, make sure you turn the flow control back open. And so what I like to do is twist it all the way open where it stops, and then come off that top a little bit. Now it's good and flushed out. Let's turn this valve on. And you can hear you've got good water flow through it. That's how to simply flush out the filter on your Y filter. Now I'm also going to show you sometimes if you see a lot of stuff coming out of it, you need to take that filter out, maybe wash it off over at your hose bib or something like that. But you can take the filter out of these. Let me show you that right now. So if you get into a situation where you feel like this thing, you take the cap off, you do one of those methods of flushing it out, there's a lot of stuff, and you think, man, we need to wash this out separate than just using this method. You can take this off. You can take this whole top part off here, and the filter sits inside of here. And I'm showing you this in the valve box because this is where it is when you're most likely going to be doing this. And so you can see this top piece, you can take it off, and you can take this filter out of here. Now this particular filter has another little cap thing right here, so make sure you don't lose that. It does actually come off there, and sometimes it just stays in there, but you can see this is a filter, but this looks clean. Of course, we just flushed it out, but no other problems. Now, one of the things you could do, you take this filter over to your hose bib, wash it out real good. You can also use the method that we did. So I'll do this flow control. Turn the flow control all the way down. Open up that solenoid. And you can flush this out a little bit right there too. Open that back up. So these are several of the things that I do, especially if I've got problems in the drip. I want to always make sure that your filter and all this is cleaned out. Eliminate that this is the problem, that it's clogged up, then go checking other things. But when you're putting this back in, make sure you've got that cap in there. I only got one hand here, so cap's in there. The cap, this part goes in first. Just slides in there and make sure it's kind of seated there in the bottom. Take your other top piece. Make sure it doesn't cross thread or anything. And just tighten it right there with your hand. Now let's turn this on. Make sure you don't have any leaks or anything. It's not coming out the cap, it's not coming out this bottom. I can hear it. It's got good flow through it, so it's good and clean. Things are working great. Now I hope this video helps you and shows you how to flush out the Y filter to your drip system. Like I said, you're going to want to do this every once in a while. I typically do a lot of these when we do a sprinkler check, and we do those once a quarter a lot of times on properties. Sometimes we do sprinkler checks once a month. I don't know that you necessarily need to check it once a month unless you're in a system that's having a lot of problems and a lot of, like if you're on a well and the well is pumping sand, and those filters are getting clogged and filled up with sand and debris all the time, then you're going to want to check them and flush them out more often than just once a quarter, or maybe even more than once a month. But they are something that you do need to check and you need to clean out, make sure things are going good. Kelly Staggs here, American Irrigator, trying to make you a better irrigator. Consider subscribing and hitting that bell, that way you don't miss any tips.